we'll go around quickly, and then we'll turn it over to Jawad to update you on some of the CSOC portal work that he and team have been up to. I think I'm looking forward to hearing the updates myself. I think there's a bunch of cool things he'll talk about. Um, so just going around the room in no particular order. Alan, you're first on the list. If you want to give a
Okay.
quick update.
Yep. I don't see him here, but thanks to Luca for meeting with us after last month.
Oh,
We got our CCDI federated query working,
oh,
and we're going to be we have to do a pull request to get it added to their list, but Luca was able to kind of walk us through that. So thank you, Luca. And related to it, our IPO data commons is up. We don't have the data loaded yet, but I promise as soon as the data's in there, I'll get Jing to send a logo and a link and you can add it to the Powered By page.
Thanks. You anticipated the question. So, okay, sounds great. Thank you. Um, yeah, I don't see Luca, but back to Mir, do you have any updates for your team?
Nothing much, just setting up Helm kind of tools like Argo CD, and then partially just preparing a the environment for the transition to the Helm charts, basically. So yeah, that's mostly it.
Great, thanks. And Claire.
Hi, so I've also got Matt on the call, who's also from well, now University of Auckland, no longer an SE. So I guess our big change recently has been going through that transition. But Carvin, who I was hoping might join us, but I think is otherwise busy, but has been working through the Helm chart. So our Helm chart are complete. And I think we've got a pull request with you, Gerard, possibly. So hoping that that can be contributed back if it's useful that work. So yeah, I think we were very keen to hear on the Keycloak updates because we also use Keycloak. So we're sort of probably here to learn more than share today. But thank you.
Hey, thanks, Claire and Matt. Then Gordon, do you have any
Hey,
updates?
yeah, sure. So our main focus this month has been enabling user registration through Auth0.
Hmm.
This is now working in our test environment, and it's it's pretty cool. I mean, it's a bit okay. I mean, it's a process for onboarding users, and we're able to centralize identity management and simplifies access control. I can give you a link if you wanna have a look. I put it in the chat. Yeah.
Just loading this here quick. Let's see if. Oh, nice. Cool. Thanks. Anything else?
Just a
Um,
quick question. Oh, I'm sorry. Back to you, Gordon.
yeah. So the next thing is just on our plate is just to upgrade the Kubernetes clusters. Yeah, we're all getting some less from AWS that you need to upgrade your clusters and so forth. So it's next for us. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, finish because it was a question. I just had a question. I put it in chat. Just go on. It was a question to Alan. Gordon, you should go on.
No, I'm done. That's all I have.
Gordon, how for the Australian cardiovascular, when will this, when will the, just say it one more time, when will data be in and when will it be sort of up?
So the goal is to go live towards the end of the year.
That is in December 31st, 2025.
Yeah, before that. Yeah. So
Okay.
Yeah,
I meant not a year from now, but by the end of the 2025 calendar year.
correct. Yes,
Okay,
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Um, then I think last on the list is Kyle. All right. Do you have any updates?
Yeah, Brian Walsh on my team has submitted at least a kind of a starter for a pull request we're going to be developing. This is kind of like a documentation first effort to kind of read you guys in early, so you guys can comment on the design for it. But the idea would be to add dynamic bucket control to fence rather than it being hard coded in the YAML files. I can actually let's see pull request right there. Um, this would be for use case where users are providing buckets for storage managed by Gen3. So this is more of a, again, payer provided bucket management. So if somebody wants to like set up a project and add buckets or to be accessed via Fence, um, the admin doesn't have to do it. They can, eventually just be like something they like, here's my bucket, here's the credentials, use it in order to reference all these files.
Oh, cool.
So we're doing this as, again, we're moving to more of a self-managed model for project management. So users should be able to come in and like give the repository where the files for the project sit. And so it's again, we'll want to work with you guys to figure out how this kind of we can append this capability into Fence more, so in a way that you guys can integrate in and fits within your other work models. I think this is very similar to the pull request we have else. I need to ping on the status of that, the index D one that adds the RBAC um, model for all data resource requests.
Yeah.
Kyle, two comments. First, this sounds really useful. Second, I'm naive, so it's mainly to the Gen3 tech team. Can what Kyle is proposing be done in a modular enough way so whether we use Fence or All Zero or Keycloak in sort of a future design, the same capability applies?
I guess I don't know, Jawad, you're the senior engineer. Do you have a response there? I know Alex isn't here.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So even today where Gordon, you guys are using Auth0, you're still configuring Fence to use Auth0, correct? Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
That's the
Yeah.
model. Like even if we used Keycloak, we would like currently configure Fence to use Keycloak if we were to use it. So yeah. Yeah.
Maybe we could push this. I'm just thinking that it may be easier and harder in certain designs as we modularize Fence so it could use, so some of the functionality is in a different section where, Keycloak or All Z or something, uh, et cetera, that this kind of capability can be put where it most makes sense. I mean, as it's going in now, it's better to think about it now than later because, we want this sort of hopefully to be specified independent. Well, I don't know. Maybe Alex and Kyle can think the pros and cons. Just something,
Yeah,
Michael, maybe you could queue up with them.
Yeah.
and I think there's a larger, I'm not fully, aware of like the full capabilities of Keycloak. One of the things that we're going to probably need is some sort of secrets management generalized. Again, this is like, okay, the individual be pushing an AWS key or an AWS secret to the Gen 3 system. It has to be stored somewhere that Fence can access it. And we want to make sure that that's a secure thing. But there's other secrets that other services may need. We're refactoring a lot of the data ETL processes around actually watching GitHub repos. So like the build for a project actually comes from a Git repository. And so we're going to want to have like, a Git secret token or a GitHub secret token like stored in one of the microservices so that like when, the ETL process kicks off in the cluster, it has a secret token to go get, the project information from GitHub. So just make sure we're not like
Yeah,
implementing too many additional, like if secret store is such a kind of foundational
Yeah.
concept, I don't want to stick it in and then you guys have redundant work.
we have a way to do secrets. And this is, is a transition it's a transition going on in terms of how the CSOC operates for a year now to transition a number of things, including that. Michael, I just wonder if we should set up a technical call with our fence team and Clint and Kyle and whoever wants to participate, just to go over a sort of a modular way to do this, especially as Peter, uh, I I can't pronounce his last name, Peter from Amsterdam works on uh the some of the key cloak stuff on our side.
Yeah. So we just got I just saw this PR this morning, Kyle, and I don't think anybody on the engineering team has seen it yet. So we'll review it and we'll set something up.
Yeah, I don't like I said, it's early days. This is mainly documentation to kind of like point to like where we want to go. I don't think there's much actual code implemented yet. But this is, get the conversation started and hopefully come to some good level of generalized consensus so we don't do anything weird.
Okay. That's good.
I'd love to be
Anything else,
part of
Kyle?
that call as well, if possible.
Sorry, who was that?
That was me,
Oh,
Joel.
hey. Sure thing. Kyle, was there anything else?
No, I think that was the main thread.
Okay. All right. Well, Jawad, I'm gonna kick it over to you unless Bob, you had any other that you wanted to share.
No, I'm just want to thank everyone. Um, I just think, as we work together on our own CSOCs and try to figure out where it makes sense and doesn't make sense to share architectures and share code. I'm really glad we're having these series of meetings. And Michael, thank you for keeping up the energy, and thanks everyone for participating. So I think we could turn it over now to the particular presentations.
Awesome. Yeah, I can get into it. So for those of you who don't know, Abhijit is here today, and he'll be presenting with me today. So Abhijit is part of the Google Summer of Code, and he's been interning with me for the past, I think, couple of months. And yeah, we've made some strides in a few different areas, and I'm excited to share some of them with you today. So what we will be presenting you is that we got the key cloak Helm charts working. We got the authentication working with the CSOC portal, which is different than Gen3. I just want to highlight that because that's something that Alex and others wanted me to underline, that this is just for the CSOC portal. It's not for Gen3 in general. We got some level of authorization working as well, which is kind of cool. So we can set up different roles and people can get different level of access. We've only set up a couple so far, but we can build on top of this. And I can also highlight some differences / shortcomings compared to like Fence and Arborist that we have today, especially in a bigger system. But yeah, some other things that we will be showing off is a database integration. So in the CSOC portal, we were waiting for the authorization things to be set up first, but now we've set up integrations with PG Web. So you get a web interface of your PostgreSQL databases. You can go in and you can visualize the tables and run queries directly from this portal. And we also have an interface to start querying Elasticsearch, which is also kind of cool. And Abhijit has also been working on a environment overview dashboard, so you can get some information about the health of your environment just at a glance. And yeah. Okay, so let me find what I had set up, and then I'll start going over a few things with Abhijit. Let's see. So Abhijit, do you want to share the Keycloak work that you did and share your screen and come and say hi to these folks?
Oh yeah, hi. Am I audible?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah. Hello there. Yeah. So yeah, nice of you to have me. I'll share my screen. Um. So one of the primary things I worked with was setting up a Keycloak integration for the CSOC portal, um, where uh, and since Keycloak provided us with high flexibility of being able to set up users, roles, and even groups, it made it easier for a particular admin to manage everything from a single point of view. So as of now, we have added three type of roles, more specifically being the super admin and a read and a write role, where the super admin, as the name suggests, will be able to perform both get and post requests, and the read obviously being able to do the get request, and the write roles being able to do the post and the put request. Um, so I have a super admin as of now. The on login, the Keycloak generates an access token which the Gen background, the Golang backend, uses to verify and authorize every request. Okay. And one of the other things I've been working on is the environment overview, which is right here. So the environment overview helps you to visualize or see every aspect of your cluster from a single point of view. This is the job component which helps you to view all the jobs that you have for that particular cluster and also trigger them. And this component basically shows all the pods that you have running on that cluster with their status and important metrics like CPU usage and memory request. Yeah. So, and then we have basic metrics like the nodes, the pods running, the CPU usage, overall CPU usage, and the overall memory usage across the cluster. Then we have the CPU usage and the memory usage, which we thought we could improve by converting it into a component which shows the CPU usage for every node, for every pod within the cluster. So you're able to know which pod is taking up too much, too many, or too less resources in your cluster. Then we have um, a component which shows every event which happens across the cluster. So you know what is happening, every event, any pod, any container being deleted, or any image being pulled, you know what is happening right there. And the active alerts component simply shows you all the most, what do you say, the most important events of all. Right now, there's nothing. So yeah, that's empty.
Perfect. Did you want to show the Keycloak backend as well, how we're doing the authorization there, how we're setting up the roles and stuff?
Oh, okay, okay.
If not, I have it up too. Oh yeah,
Yeah, I think it's better you show it. Yeah, mine is.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me do this, and I will share my, and let me close all the other tabs here. Cool. So we have a Keycloak deployment internally just for our dev cluster, and we have a Keycloak deployed as well there. So when I hit sign in with Keycloak, it deploys us here. We've decided to hide this behind our VPN, and really suggest like any sort of, or this level of admin level functionality to have some sort of blocker, so it's not just accessible from the internet, even though we are adding Keycloak authentication and whatnot. But we have a Google integration as well with Keycloak. So Keycloak is acting as a identity provider, basically. So we have this, which I've added myself as an admin. So I can just log in and I get into the admin console. And this is basically what Keycloak looks like in the backend. In our Gen3 admin repository, I've added a script to deploy the Helm charts with some default values. Apparently, it's not super easy to deploy Keycloak in production mode, so it took me a couple of weeks to get that right. So hopefully that can be helpful for other people as well. So the way it works is that you can create a certain realm. A realm would be, in this scenario, just a sort of environment that you're managing. And you can have different identity providers for that realm. For CSOC or for us, I've enabled Google, but if I talk to my security team, they are going to say that we have to enable some FedRAMP Okta auth here. So that's next on my list that I have to add. But this is how you would do, similar to how we do it in Fence. If you were to go in and add the Google login, you need the client ID and client secret. Gives you a redirect URI and you add it to the client in Google. Cool. So the way this works is Abhijit mentioned we have 3 types of role. We have read role, we have write role, and then we have the super admin role. What I'm showing you right now under the realm settings, under the user registration, is the default role that I get assigned. I have decided so far, since this is one of the clusters that we have deployed, it's called Dev Planet V2, which hosts like most of our dev and QA environment. And this is the naming scheme. If I were to assign or create a new role that basically was for another environment, so let's say QA Planet V1, which is not connected right now, I would be creating roles like these. So I would create a read role, and I would create a write role to give to people so that they get access to this cluster, essentially. You can assign these roles by going into users, selecting the user, and do the role mapping. Right now, we only have the default roles, which were listed under here. So the default role is just a read-only role. So if I go in here and I try to do things that require sort of a post request, it's pretty basic so far, where we've restricted the read-only roles to only be able to do GET requests. We can do it more comprehensively in code, but we have to code in all the authorization and restrict based on the roles there. And if we wanted to check what's going on here, we should be able to see the session. And under the session, you can see our group memberships here. And right now, I only have the Dev Planet V2 read role. I could go in here into my user, and I could give myself the super admin role, for example, which is a realm role. And next time I log in here, which I was conveniently logged out, my group membership should reflect that I am now also a super admin. So we use the token. So this is the actual access token that we're getting back. So the access token itself has the information. And in the Go API, we're basically using these group membership to determine what level of access we have. And Keycloak, I couldn't find it at least, doesn't do what we do in Arborist really well. So if you wanted to do auth Z a little bit more granularly, like we do in Arborist, we still would need some service to replace Arborist or use Arborist still. Keycloak itself acts as the identity broker really well. Also has local users if you don't want to go through an SSO thing, for better and for worse. But yeah, I like the authorization part, we still had to manually code into CSOC. So that's what we did. Cool. That was really quick about the CSOC portion. Just gonna bring up the chat again because it was really nice with that overview. Yeah. So the database integration. So hopefully, yeah, let's try. I've made this dashboard, and I don't know if I showed this the last time, but this dashboard goes in and it gives you the list of the databases that you have available. Let me hide this view. And you can then start sort of a session against one of these databases. So right now I am set to my dev environment and I can launch a pod basically. And in the background, this is launching similar to how we do our workspaces, just a lot smaller pod, but a PG web pod with the credentials for Fence already in here. So over here, now we can go in and we can actually take a look at what's going on in the database. We can look at the schemas, although this was a very uneventful because it's my dev environment. It's basically, I just nuked all the databases. So there's not a lot happening here. But yeah, you should be able to see like what sort of columns do we have, and yeah, I thought it was really nice. Like I rarely go in and take a look at like how our columns in all our different services are set up. And I think hopefully this is helpful for people. You can also look at some of the indices we set up. Yeah, and you can also like craft regular queries right from this dashboard. And you get to see like some sort of overview of what's going on in your database, what sort of connections are open. Yeah. So that was really quick how we're doing the Postgres visualization. Yeah, because when we built out the Kubernetes dashboard, there were people from our tech team that was like, can we rely on open source components here as well, which is a great way to do things. And then we basically just embed them in here for certain pieces, which is fun. Cool. Any questions so far? I know I'm sort of steamrolling through here.
I just want to comment that this is really cool, like the database access feature.
Yeah,
It's very helpful.
thank you. And then we have similar things. I looked into a few components like PG Web for Elasticsearch. Either they were all too bulky or needed like some massive amounts of configuration, which didn't make sense when you're just dealing with a REST API. So what I did, I added most of the default endpoints that you would query your Elasticsearch cluster with. Ooh, am I not a super admin? Let's see. I should have it working here. Let's see. And then I'll look into what's going on here in a second. No, not in this environment. Let's try this then. There we go. I think it's just my dev environment that's struggling at the moment. But here you can see I can query the cluster endpoints, and I have compiled a few things that which I think might be useful for people. You can list all the indices there. Hopefully, yeah. I'm not going to query them because there might be some actual data in here, but you can see some basic Elasticsearch functionality, and this view is also like the same editor that we've been using throughout the CSOC portal. It's the same one that's being used in Visual Studio Code. I think it's called the Monaco editor. So if you're used to Visual Studio Code, this view should be familiar. You can like search and replace, and although this is a read-only view, but this is the editor that we're sort of using throughout the portal. to mess with the YAML files and whatnot.
Jawad, this and Averjeet, this is very, very nice, both of what you've done. Jo Jawad, what are the next, I mean, in terms of what people need to get from your work and the people you're supervising, what are the missing ingredients they'll need to sort of begin to use something like this?
Yep.
You know, what's in the roadmap so they can sort of get an idea of when they should think about using this technology, waiting for it, adding to it, etc.
For sure. So that's the last announcement of today, like these
Oh, I'm sorry
Helm
to
chart. No worries. No worries at all. So
all right, just think of it as a smart question to move this conversation along, not as a dumb question because I haven't read my mail.
No, that's perfect. That's the perfect segue into the last part where we're basically releasing the Helm charts for all these different components. So we have the Grafana stack that we're using that you can deploy. So you can integrate this with the Grafana stack. Unless you are using the AWS managed one, like the Australia Biocommons, I think are. There's a Keycloak one that I have added a little script that generates some secrets for you, as well as a values YAML that you can use and customize for your needs, basically. Yeah. There is one Helm chart for the CSOC cluster or the CSOC portal as well, although it's still a work in progress. So I haven't merged it to master just yet. But yeah, you can start to deploy this, all the pieces at least, and get started as well. And so we've added it as a developer deployment so far. So you can see all of our dev and QA environments are in here. I need to borrow some time from our security team so they can do a comprehensive security review of all the different pieces. On the roadmap, the next up is we've done a lot of work on our Terraform to make it work from, first of all, from anywhere and also always be able to run in like one shot. So the next step is basically to do a comprehensive integration of our Terraform. So you can start deploying two things. So there is one portion where you have to bootstrap the entire CSOC, right? So you need a main networking and slash cluster. So that's going to be the first thing where you can start by running this whole portal locally and hit a bootstrap button or something, and it will bootstrap itself into AWS. We can use Terraform for that. And I'm going to have to check with my team on what components we include in that. Because for us, a big part of the CSOC thing is the OpenVPN networking. But I also know that our security team wants us to not rely on that and move to zero trust. And we're moving to zero trust architecture soon. So I'm trying to hold off on certain pieces that we integrate here and that we would like start to sunset in a little bit. But the infrastructure as code, bootstrapping the CSOC itself, and being able to bootstrap other environments is going to be the next step that we're going to focus on the roadmap. Alan, if the Crow stuff is getting into an interesting place, I would love to be able to play with the Crow stuff and have that also be part here. Maybe we can leverage some of those components to bootstrap the CSOC itself, or like when we branch out with like a hub and spoke model, sort of a thing where the hub is the CSOC and you can set up like spokes in different AWS accounts or other cloud accounts, basically. Yeah. The other thing that we have Elise working on right now is to polish this Gen3 deployment wizard. I don't think we could have found a better person to go in and help manage this whole values YAML file. She has a very good in-depth knowledge about it, and she's now like learning how to manipulate this stepper form to be able to comprehensively being able to configure all parts of Gen3. She's also made, I hope I can see it here. I don't have it here, but probably here. Some some updates on the agents that we deploy. So for now, if you're deploying to an EKS cluster, you can set up a cloud identity for that agent that you deploy it to. So if you deploy it to, for example, one of our production cluster, we would definitely be relying on a role. But if you're deploying on-prem, but you'd still like to have some level of AWS identity in this agent to be able to do AWS stuff down the line, because we are going to add stuff where you could manipulate buckets or spin up different things in the different AWS accounts. There's going to be some cost overview um, um, into this dashboard, and yeah. So I think in the immediate roadmap, that is the thing. So we just getting our security team's blessing is a big one. So I'm going to start to initiate some risk reviews and security reviews of the features that we've implemented so far. And yeah, another thing that I think, Abhijit, you can show off, and I can go into about like the complexity of it, is the we're adding sort of a shell functionality into pods and other things that you can shell into. But based on the architecture we've chosen, it's actually not a really straightforward problem because we're working through so many different protocols. Yeah, I'm gonna let you explain it slash demo it really quick, Abhijit, and then we can go over what we had to do to get this far and what we're still working on to make it work even better.
Okay, yeah, I'll just share my screen.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of set up shell functionality like Java told, being able to have a terminal access to every pod in your cluster. Because previously it used to show the overview, the YAML associated with the pod, the events happening in the pod, and also the logs. So I added a shell which allows you to have terminal access basically. So the whole process starts with the front end initiating a HTTP request, which goes to the Golang server. The Golang server upgrades this HTTP request to a WebSocket request and sends it to the agent in the cluster. The cluster then creates a Kubernetes client and uses that client to exec into the pod, which underneath uses the SPDY protocol. Yeah.
Awesome. I have a little diagram to just show you the complexity of like something this simple and useful, but there's a lot of complex, I would say a little bit of complex engineering. So if I can borrow the screen again, Abhijit, I
Oh
will,
yeah, I'll show. Okay.
yeah, go over what you've been working on. So this has also been part of Abhijit's Google Summer of Code exercise. So he mentioned like the front end basically does a HTTP call to our Go server that then upgrades this connection to a WebSocket. So now we have a persistent connection between the server and the front end. But then we need to talk to the agent, and we can have many agents, right? So we need to talk to the correct agent, and this is going over gRPC. So our server and agents are talking over gRPC, and they may live in different AWS accounts and all of that. The agent.go or the agent code will then try to open like a persistent connection where basically if you do kubectl exec today from your terminal, which is another different protocol called SPDY, which was, I think, an old Google protocol. But yeah, this is what Kubernetes uses underneath the hood to open up that connection. So we then need to send the traffic over the speedy protocol to the agent and over gRPC to the server, and then translate it over WebSocket to the front end over every shell interaction. Like every keystroke has to go through this. And then we're using a library in the front end called Xterm to be able to do this functionality. I threw this sort of as a challenge on Abhijit so that I could challenge him a little bit. And he has working proof of concept, and we have a shell functionality into our portal. So I thought that was kind of a cool from just an engineering perspective. Yeah. But I think that was most of our updates so far. Yeah.
That was a
So if
lot
you
of
guys,
updates.
a lot of updates. Yeah, we missed the last month's presentation. Someone took our spot, which was nice because then we got some more time to polish what we've been working on so far.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, let me just ask, Jawad, can you put some links in the chat? I know that just so that people
Yeah.
know, I'm sure you've presented them, but just so that people have them so they can take a look.
For sure. I added the main repo, and we're adding more documentation on this whole key cloak setup. I should mention that actually. Let me just share my screen one more time, and we can go over. When we're setting up these clients, so we set up a different client for the portal. We need to add a specific client scope called groups to be able to get the groups into the token. So we're trying to document it. It's a little bit different between versions, which we noticed. So I have a local Keycloak running as well. And sort of that's what Abhijit was showing. There should be a Docker compose in the repo. So if you want to get up to this point, but that one's running version 22, whereas in prod, we're running version 26. But same thing applies there as well. So we need to add different client scopes here that you manually have to do when you're setting up that client. There is a different, however, in version 22 and the latest one, where here we have to create groups and we have to call them, whatever we were calling them, superadmin and the cluster name and read and cluster name and write. Whereas in the production version, there now been changed. There is something called groups, but that is not what's being used anymore. They're using realm roles. So that's sort of something that we're trying to capture in our documentation as well. But just if you're trying this out and you're setting it up, and you're using the Helm charts to deploy Keycloak, use realm roles because that's what gets mapped up in here. You can see under the mappers, it uses user realm role. Whereas if you look at the mappers here, I think, no, here, it uses group membership, which is no longer available in the newest Keycloak. So there are some small gotchas there as well. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that. But the link that I sent, there is a big PR for the August Google Summer of Code changes. So there is a branch we call just Google Summer of Code where we both have just been pushing stuff to. Yeah, but the repo is in the chat. Please feel free to check it out. Yeah.
Just quick question, Jawad. So is it could be a kind of integration between the Gen3 admin and the Argo CD workflows?
Yeah, there is definitely a connection there. I can show you that as well. So so all of these environments are deployed with Argo CD. And you can see them here under our deployments. I can even go to the one we have deployed in prod. And you can see this little icon showing you that this is an Argo CD app, not just a regular Helm deployment. So it works with both. You can even go in and sync the application from here if you wanted to. So what we do for our dev environments, we don't auto sync. So what we've done is we've set up a GitOps dev repo, which unfortunately for now is private at least. There is a, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, an application set here. So whenever someone wants to launch a new dev environment, we have an application set that goes in and automatically creates the GitHub or the Argo CD applications based off of this. So for example, for me, there, like it will deploy this chart, which basically just includes a Argo CD application. And if anybody else wants to deploy any new environment, there is a template folder here, copy me, they copy it into the dev environments folder. Voila, they should have a dev environment. But the reason why we've turned off autosync is we go in and we turn off all these environments daily. So when they show up the next day, they can go in here and they can basically sync it. That would wake up the environment, basically. But there is an integration with Argo CD, and you can sort of see it here as well. When you go hit the edit button, you can see like whatever Argo CD's APIs are returning back. I did mention it, I think a few CSOC community groups ago, where we have so much information coming back here that we're not really utilizing yet. But here you can see like all of the Docker images being used by this application, all of the different resources. I'm hoping at some point that we can create some sort of a visual map slash dashboard that shows you all of these resources and their states. Yeah, yeah, that's a cool front end challenge because we do already have the information here. So once we get some free engineering cycles, or if anyone here wants to join and try to brush off their React skills, it's always fun. So yeah, if you're interested, just reach out. Yeah, it's a fun learning project. But yeah, there's definitely an Argo CD integration here, and we're hoping to get the deployment wizard also integrated in there, possibly off of an architecture like this, where we have an application set that generates the applications for us.
Thank you.
I posted just a comment there, but I just want to make sure that folks give feedback on what we're seeing, and maybe the big question is, will you use this? Are there things in here that you need in order to use this? We want to make sure it's useful for the community. So any thoughts on that would be appreciated.
Or if there's anything you would like to see there.
Right.
It definitely looks very useful to me.
Yeah, for sure. Especially the database feature, because right now we want to inspect a database, we'll need to spin up like the EC2 instance somewhere in the VPC.
Yeah.
So we can access the database. It's kind of a pain. So with this admin portal, it's pretty cool if you can just access the database straight away. Yeah. And I also think the shell exec feature, that'll be pretty interesting to see. I think it'll be very useful too.
For sure. And we're also adding some integration for like the squid stuff that we're doing. I think that will also be nice to share once it's there. So you can have like the whole whitelist there if you want to make changes to the whitelist, maybe. Yeah. Cool. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right.
Nice work.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Bob.
Yeah, it's really coming together.
It is.
Go ahead, Bob.
I was just counting organizations that have two or more data commons that they operate. I have the Australia Biocommons. I have Michigan State University. Alan, does Indiana operate? Is it going to operate just one now or two?
IPO is our second.
Oh, it is. What's the first again?
RDAC,
Can
the
you put?
AlCalNet
Oh,
data commons.
okay. Can you put that URL in here? I just want to make sure. I'm just going through all those. That's good. I think it's really a big barrier, and I think, Michael, we should do some publicity about this, some communicate. I hate to, it's not publicity, some communication. When an organization, however they do it, brings up two or more Gen 3, it's sort of moving along this direction where we want to sort of get the community, where I think it will build up the amount of data and with these meshes, the amount of data that can interoperate. So this it's a big step when we have a few of these operating two or more. Um, Kyle, does OHSU just operate one?
We're kind of yeah, in between things right now. Actually, we're rebranding the ACE thing as Caliper.
Oh, because I went to the website and started crying when it wasn't there.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, there's a kind of a change in funding, so we're kind of rebranding it right now for more OHSU specific use cases.
Okay, great. So Claire, let me know when that's done. So Claire, you have two. You don't need interoperability between them. We just want to track, and maybe we could all write a joint paper on this. Track when you're running. Actually, I think it'd be good to write a joint paper because people don't think about this. They think of a commons as something you spend years bringing up instead of something you could mint. So Claire has two. Alan, over to you. You have your hand up, but you do have two. Um, I'm just looking for them.
I have a question for Jawad, but it's back on the admin.
Oh no, do that.
Okay.
Ask your question.
Yeah, Jawad, do you feel that you've got it to a point where you're ready for people to be early adopters, or do you feel you need to merge some of these branches that you've been working on this summer?
We have one branch, so once that's merged, it should be later today. Please feel free. Yeah, let me actually, you know what? We can merge it to master. It's never gonna be 100% perfect. It's merged. Yeah, it's ready. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a dream it was going to be merged by the end of the call. Thank you, Jawad.
Yeah.
You've made my dreams come true.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, yeah. No. But yeah, it should be ready for people to play with. Yeah. Oh yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, I'll personally fund the Gen
Gen
3
3
swag.
stickers.
Okay. Get that going right away then, Bob. That's all we needed. Well, okay, so what are ideas for next month? I don't know if just yeah, ideas from anyone. We can always come back to see updates from Jawad, but if there's components or topics that other people want to cover, um, please let me know now or after the meeting. Jawad or Bob, did you have ideas for the next? Oh, Alan's got his hand raised.
I hope this isn't too basic. People may not like this, but I'd love to see a discussion around observability. Maybe Jawad and others could talk about what their team has done and what they've kind of made available to others. But I know there's probably some variations that different folks have done. Like you mentioned, maybe Biocommons doing something a little bit different. That would be interesting to me because that's an area where we're weak as a new Gen 3 CSOC group. So I'd love to learn from the community, kind of see what you've done, those that have been operating the Gen 3 Commons for a long time, lessons learned, et cetera. So there's one suggestion.
For sure. I think that would be a great topic. And we do have some like preliminary work going in there with observability and building it into the portal as well. But we also have a comprehensive Grafana stack that has like all of our logs going into S3, running really cheaply, replacing like expensive tools that we used to pay for, but we're getting somewhat the same level of functionality. So we can definitely go over some of that. And I think some of that should also be included in the Helm charts that I just merged in.
So,
Yeah.
does any of your observability overlap with the open source project Clint did over the last year?
Um, Mm, not necessarily. I think Clint's stuff is more on the security side, but that would be cool to demo as
No,
well.
it is, but it's a lot of security is first observability.
It is. Yeah. I think they might be building like Grafana or logs into their whole pipelines of
Yeah,
things.
it'd be good if
Uh,
those two things, because that's open source too. If
yeah.
if it makes sense to see if you understand if
Yeah.
either it makes sense or it doesn't to sort of see if there's a way to leverage both.
Yeah. We can also talk about the components that we use in AWS that are relatively cheap to run that enhances not just the observability, but security, such as WAF.
Yeah.
So there's a web application firewall that costs pennies to run, but you can you get full control over like who you allow into your application, and it also like gives you these different rule sets that you can start like denying automatic uh, um, what's the word? Malicious
Yeah,
actors,
I should
essentially.
say for those supported by NIH, you're required to do certain filtering. And the AWS WAF, I'm sure Google and Azure have something with similar functionality, allow you to put those lists in and keep them up to date. So I think that's an easy win that's very inexpensive that knocks down some of the requirements if you're funded by NIH.
Yeah.
Did I say that right, Jawad? I mean, that's my high level understanding of how we do that. I
Yep.
know OCC just did that.
Hmm.
We got 1 minute left. Any other volunteers for presenting maybe 10 to 15 minutes on what you're using for observability right now?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about our solution, maybe like 5 minutes or so. We're using AWS Managed Grafana. So
Okay, and we got
And Michael, maybe when we get the M3 website up, the CSOC is part of that. We could have a CSOC page where we sort of list some of the projects around the world using CSOCs and how many commons they have, just so people sort of understand the progress that's been made.
okay, that's a good
I
idea.
mean, if we think where we were a year ago, we've really come a long way.
Great. Okay, well, anybody else wants to volunteer, just reach out. Yeah, so maybe likely the next meeting will be on observability. We won't give Jawad a break because he might still have to present, but we will give a break on the CSOC portal perhaps for a little bit. Okay. All right. Anything else anybody wants to cover in the last minute?
No, but Claire, is Claire still on?
Yep. Yep.
Can you stay on for 30 seconds?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Well, bye everyone.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you so much. Bye.